that's kind of the background of it.
Wow.
I threw about 35 festivals in Arkansas to learn all the ropes. And then I started doing Astronox just once a year with Astronox Sessions is something we started to do, which is an indoor event. So we've done 6 Astronoxes so far, 1 Astronox Sessions and 5 festivals. And it is way bigger than Flux ever was. And I'm just so incredibly proud of everyone who has gotten involved. Right. Do you think that stage actually exists? I can't afford that.
Dude, that stage. Yeah, see, that's funny. Because, I've seen the stage in its full form, and man, it is freaking something else. I love it.
It is, man. That it is a technological marvel.
All right, we are live, and I'm here with Nick Sumbles. How's it going this evening?
What's up, man? Doing good.
Awesome.
Here in Oklahoma City.
Oh, beautiful. What are you doing out there?
My girlfriend lives here. We have a medium distance relationship, and it's only like a 5.5-hour drive, so it's no big deal. But I remote work here every now and then. So right now I'm just here for a couple of weeks, and very rare opportunity, actually. But usually we meet in Dallas, which is only 3 hours away from, Austin and Oklahoma City. So it's a good middle point.
Nice. I dig it. Yeah, I mostly know you out of Austin because you are the founder and the host of Astronox, which is one of my favorite festivals I've ever been to, let alone, I would say it is my personal favorite coming out of Austin. But I've also been to a couple out of Colorado and Georgia and a couple of places, and it's always been such an awesome experience. And I would just love to get that kind of background as to like the origin story of Astronox and share that with the listeners so that they could potentially come experience this thing next year, because it is freaking otherworldly, man.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate that, because it really isn't just me. I'm just the guy that said, hey, let's bring some music and art that we all like to a big field and see what happens. And I started doing that, in 2013, and I had no idea what the heck I was doing. And then Astronox is my second festival project. And I think that now that I know what I'm doing, I get all these other people that are also experienced, and we just make magic happen.
Yeah, totally. It really is magical. I've talked about it on a number of my podcasts. I've met a lot of friends out there. I've had many people that I didn't know before that I met at Astronox come on the pod. It's such a beautiful community experience, production, all around great work with it. And I want to learn the history of it. But it's funny because I think already we're saying different things. So, and it's something that kind of goes on. Like, is it Astronox or Astronox, or does it matter?
You can call it whatever you want, man. A lot of people just call it like Astronox. You can. I don't care. It's just an experience, and it's funny because when I first made that name, I thought of it as an astro, which means space, of course, and then nox, which means breathing, apparently. And it's the idea that like space is kind of cool. It would be even cooler if you could breathe in space. I don't know. It was stupid, but I liked it because it just sounded cool. It doesn't have to mean anything. It's just like Astronox, and it was just a funny branding decision, and it worked. And people either call it Astronox or Astronox. It's really whatever you want it to be.
That's beautiful. Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm sure you might not have heard of some of my pods, but for people that have, they know that I'm a kind of a trippy guy, and I end up in these places, in these states of mind. And one time I was at your festival, and I fully landed on what I felt was the planet Astronox. And I was like, oh, it's a whole planet. Oh, okay. It's like, it was pretty magical.
It really is its own little world, because, when you think of you living on Earth, you don't really know, you can't imagine the entire planet as one thing. You just imagine where you are, or you look around you, not even imagine. Like when I say I'm living on Earth, really I'm in a single room, and that's all that I can really perceive and comprehend, because I'm a limited creature that has nothing near the mental capacity to actually know what the entire Earth really is. I barely even know what my entire house really is. And so but yeah, when you go to any festival, you're going to your own world, and we try to make it as unique as possible so that you feel like it's something very special and different from your normal everyday experience.
Yeah, it really is. And I love all the different kind of passions that are included in the Astronox community, because it's not just music and art, which is, kind of like more widely, people do that more widely, combining music and art. But I loved how you had like video games and card games, and like there was almost like this quest thing going on where like these people there was like, come get quests here at this village.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it was a whole like immersive experience.
And that's a big shout out to Art Front Side Quest, because they're the ones that had that whole questing system going on. Because we had this idea where we wanted kind of a side quest system where we give out prizes by sending you on little adventures. But I mean, they took it to, like, we were just going to do a scavenger hunt. They took it to this whole level and had actors and an entire castle that they spent 2 days building. I mean, I was really blown away from that. And that's the thing, is that there's not many places where people are able to express a creative idea like that. And so the whole purpose of a festival, in my opinion, is to give those kinds of people a canvas to where they can paint, literally and figuratively, because we have painters as well, but we want people to express themselves because, like I said, there's just not many places where you have that opportunity.
Right. Yeah, for real. Like, yeah, it lets everyone kind of like shine in their own particular interests. And, people that I grew up playing card games, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, all the good stuff. And I remember walking by a couple of the gaming centers and seeing people like so in it, and it was like, yo, this is their performance. Like, yes, there's a DJ totally on stage, but like these guys are killing it in the game sphere. And there was like even a movie premiere at one of the years, the Terrence McKenna movie. That guy was awesome. I mean, the guy that produced the film, of course, Terrence, was awesome as well. But just so many different interests, passions that all kind of converge on it's leading edge. It's bringing us to be our best selves. It's bringing us to bring forth a deeper passion and into the world, and giving us a place to celebrate that. So that's what's beautiful about it. But I do wonder, like, how does this start? How does this accumulate? Like, what was the maybe friend group or the origin story of let's get everyone together with all of their different passions and bring it together for this celebration and this yearly event. So I guess before we hop right to Astronox, you said you had done one other event series. Is that right?
I did. I did one called Flux back in Arkansas many years ago. That's kind of the lore of how this all began.
Mm-hmm.
Flux. A lot of those same people that helped with that are now helping with Astronox as well.
I see. So was that how many years was that?
Well, we started it in 2013, and then I kind of got away from it around 2015 or so. Mm-hmm. And then Astronox started in 2019. I helped with this festival called Co-Creation in 2018, and that was my first Texas event that I kind of dipped my pinky toe in. And then I was like, all right, it's time. It's time to do. This was the first time that I'd ever done it like myself, in terms of I'm the only one that was on the LLC. Before with Flux, it was me and my partners Ryan and Kat, and we were just all friends, and we wanted to throw a nice party in the woods. But yeah, I can start with that if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hear the whole history. How does it start?
All right, so buckle your seatbelt. Here's the lore. This will be on a test later. So basically, in 2012, I fell in love for the first time, as many of us do. And she lived in China, and I lived in the United States. I mean, this has a point, don't worry. And we went out at UALR, the University of Arkansas in Little Rock. And she was a foreign exchange student. We went out for about a year, and then she went to China for a year long distance. And then I went over there to get married. in 2013, and it just didn't work out. It was all for the best. Didn't work out. We didn't get married, but I was devastated. I was like, I'm never gonna feel this sad ever again. Oh, woe was me, a 21-year-old that knows everything, and I was like, this is definitely the worst that could ever happen. And
I've been there,
and I was just really depressed and driving around in my Oldsmobile Cutlass that has a sub built in the roof, listening to Psytrance. And then I went to this place called the 8-Bit Tavern, and there was only one person there. It was this lovely woman by the name of Catherine Hicks is her full name. And she was the only one there. So I just walked up and I was like, hey, normally I don't talk to random ladies at bars or anything, but you're the only one here. And she had no hair at the time. So I said, nice haircut. And she laughed hysterically for some reason. Yeah. And then we just became instant friends. And she threw this show at the Rev Room, because the scene in Little Rock, Arkansas for electronic music is non-existent. It's non-existent. But she was throwing this electronic show with Zebler and Canty Experience, and I never had heard of them. And I was like, wow, the person that I meet at this bar throws electronic shows. There's 2 people that do that here, and I just happened to run into that person. So wow. I kind of saw it as a sign of whatever you want to call it, and she invited me, and I went out, and we had a great time. And then she was like, how about we just throw a show of our own? You seem to have good taste in music. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And her friend Zachary, we all threw a show in his backyard and in this neighborhood with a lot of people around us, and we gave his dad a mower, and he mowed the backyard. We told people they could camp, and we were expecting 50 people, and 150 to 200 or so show up. And I was like, what are we going to do with all these people? 200 people, that's a lot, and the sheriff showed up. And I'll never forget this. He just walks up and pulls his pants up to his hips, and he's like, well, you can't fix hippies. And I was just like, what? and he was like, y'all have a good day. And he just drove off. And I was like, what just happened? And
that's surreal.
And we called that show Quantum Flux. And that was back in 2014, I'm pretty. It may have been 2013, but that was the first ever show that I ever did. And then we did 3 more that year, and then we did 4 the next year, and 4 the next year, and we just kept doing that. My good friend Ryan came into the festival and kind of turned it into a 1,000-person festival with 2 stages. We had 1 stage for electronic music and 1 stage for bluegrass and live bands and all of that. And that we were just kind of one of the only festivals in Arkansas, other than Wakarusa, and there was the Hillberries, all the berry festivals. And we were just kind of, trying to bring music to our state because no one else was.
Right. Dang, that is epic. And, so much resonance with that, actually. Time Wheel started almost as an event series as well. We call it the earliest days of it an artistic collective. But that was essentially because I was a musician. My best friends were musicians. Some of them were both in a band with a side project. And so it was just bills were building themselves just by natural happening around, where it was like, dude, I could play my solo set, and then the band could play later, and then y'all could play your solo set, and then their band can play later. And it was we had 6-8 artists that were just all best friends, really, here in San Antonio. And we would do these house shows. So it really resonates because essentially there wasn't a consistent platform for this type of music, which I would call experimental, progressive, psychedelic, metal in some senses. A lot of some of my good friends, they were always into the heavy metal prog stuff, like Meshuggah,
totally
Gojira, Tool, of course, so kind of a bigger, more mainstream name, but still super deep. But then we love Aphex Twin and Boards of Canada and Flying Lotus and all of these guys that were kind of more eclectic and eccentric. And experimental with like their beats. So yeah, I really resonate with that, and it's no wonder that I feel this like kinship, because it is such a similar story where it's just like fate had, in the sense of you like going to that bar and meeting the friend, and wow, like let's produce events. It was just that same organic happening with Time Wheel, where it's like we're all making music, we're all like invite my new homie over, and it's like, wow, like do y'all want to play sets, you know? So it started in the house, went out to some of the venues, and then we did do 4 years of festivals in San Antonio called Odyssey.
Cool.
But you know, it does come with a lot of challenges, a lot of expenses, a lot of personalities, and all kind of stuff. So it does take a lot to do, and people don't really understand that. And it's something you kind of got to be a pretty strong individual, I would say, to do, you know?
Totally, man. And that's the thing, is like 90% of the people that are attending these shows, just like when they go into any business, like a coffee shop, you don't think about how the coffee shop was, how the coffee shop's managed. You don't think about what it took to build the building. You don't think about how this electricity is even powering the lights. Like, we're very detached from that as a society, especially because Americans, you know, it's a consumer based society. We're capitalists. We love buying things. We love selling things, and we kind of have the customer is always right mentality for a lot of places that we go to. But the cool thing about these festivals, these gatherings, is that everyone coming in, because the festival's so slowly growing, it's like friends are coming together to make a place where their other friends can also have a good time. And then their friends are coming, and then their friends are coming. And it's like a place made by friends for friends. And everyone who comes then feels a little attached to what's going on. They kind of peek behind the curtain and understand what it takes to throw these shows. And that's what's very unique about not only Flux, but Astronox, is that I've noticed everyone fully appreciates and understands that this does take a lot of work. Like, there is chaos that people never see, and they never will see. And we want to keep it that way because, you know, we're working really hard to create what will hopefully be one of the best experiences they've ever had.
Yep.
And you have to host these experiences with people that you love, because it's very much a labor of love.
Yeah, absolutely. I think almost anything to do with music or art, and gaming, in a sense, really is that, you know? I mean, I know a lot of, just for example, video game developers who just have this vision. It's like, I don't have financing, I don't have backing, I don't have blah, 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 but they like, I have to build this game. That's the same way with a lot of artists and musicians. It's just like, they don't know why, but they have to do this thing. It's like the music's just calling to me, the art's just calling to me. And yeah, I feel that in the community at the festival. But we kind of, so we kind of got the background here on Flux. So, and you gave a little brief overview earlier, but like, how does Flux turn into Astronox, and maybe like the first year of Astronox?
Well, like many band stories, there's got to be a band breakup every now and then. And with Flux, there was a bit of a band breakup, and I just was already moving to Texas, so it was for the best. I was like, well, this is perfect timing. I had to move to Texas because Apple, they trained me. I've worked at Apple for about 13 years, and that's partly why I'm able to do these festivals and be okay with losing money, because I make my money at Apple and I lose it doing the shows. I've only broken even probably at 2 of the shows, but we're finally at the moment where we can like bring in money for everyone that's putting it on, which is such a nice feeling. And then you just put that right into the company, and we bring bigger acts like that. But I'll get into that later. Not to go on a tangent or anything, but with Flux, that turned into Astronox because when I moved to Texas, I still had that drive, that passion for throwing shows that didn't go away. I was even more ready than ever before to throw shows because I'd learned so much through Flux, and I had so many ideas of how to just make my own festival with my own rules and not have to discuss it with anybody. And so I needed to kind of meet people in the States and kind of take my time because I'm very slow with the shows that I do, with the ideas that I have, because I want to make sure that it's done right. And with Astronox, I helped Create Culture do a festival called Co-Create in 2018. I moved to Texas in 2016, so that was a couple of years of just kind of preparing, pulling my resources, networking, going to shows, supporting the scene, and witnessing how it is done by everybody. Because there's a lot of music in Texas. Like, it wasn't triple the amount of Arkansas. It was like 80 times or more the amount, literally. So I was like, okay, there's a lot of competition here. Like, what can I do to bring my ideas to this industry? And luckily, the electronic industry was still very underground, and there was only a few people doing it, and none of them were really throwing these big shows other than Art Outside. They were the cream of the crop. Everyone loved them. And it just so happened that when they got, rained out during Rain Outside, which is just such a devastating event. Right. But when was that? Was that 2017 when that happened? 2018?
I only heard about it on Facebook. I wasn't there, so I don't remember.
Well, it was before Astronox started in 2019. I know that much. But that opened up the floodgates, no pun intended, for there was now a big empty spot for festivals. And I was like, I want to bring one artist that I've always wanted to bring, that I couldn't bring to Arkansas because no one would really get him. But in Texas, there's a down-tempo scene. People like down-tempo music here. And that is huge. So thanks to Art Outside and many other festivals before that, like Pronoia, I mean, there's a lot of them. There was all these people that were craving this electronic music, this not just EDM, but the underground bass music and vaporwave, psytrance, ambient, down tempo, a lot of a wide variety of it. So I wanted to bring Solar Fields out in 2019. He was still is one of my favorite artists of all time. He wrote the Mirror's Edge soundtrack. Both of the soundtracks. It's this great parkour video game. But he also, if you're familiar with Carbon-Based Lifeforms, he's collaborated with them. And I mean, he's just a legend of Sybient and down-tempo music. Yeah. So I met this great agent named Ite, because he managed Carbon-Based Lifeforms back in the day, and Ostana and all these legends, these absolute legends. And we brought out Solar Fields. Nice. We brought him in 2019 with Somatos and a few supporting acts, and a few hundred people came out, like 350 people came out or so. And I was just like, okay, this is my first time doing this by myself. I really did. I'm like back to square one. I was like a chicken running around with his head cut off, but it worked. People really liked it. It showed me that people wanted that. And I saw massive potential for taking the community that already existed and expanding upon it, and giving all these incredibly talented people a place to express themselves, like what we were talking about before, because Texas has talent. Like, my Lord, does it have talent. There are some incredibly, just amazing people here, artists and cooks and painters and technicians, and
right.
And I just kind of like met all these great people, and they came to me saying, "Hey, I heard that you're doing this electronic festival. I'd really like to get involved with that." And I was just overwhelmed with the amount of desire and drive that hundreds of people had messaging me, little old me. I was like, whoa, hang on, guys. Like, I just all I brought was Solar Fields. Like, it's not that big of a deal, And then we kept doing it. We kept growing it, kept hiring different people as I got more money to hire those people to wear different hats, and more and more nerds like me got involved with the show, and it's grown into what it is today, which. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to that, but yeah, that's kind of the background of it.
Wow.
I threw about 35 festivals in Arkansas to learn all the ropes. And then I started doing Astronox just once a year with Astronox sessions is something we've started to do, which is an indoor event. So we've done 6 Astronoxes so far, 1 Astronox sessions and 5 festivals. And it is way bigger than Flux ever was. And I'm just so incredibly proud of everyone who has gotten involved.
Absolutely. But another artist that that I know I feel like keeps appearing on the top of the billing is the guy who did the Matrix soundtrack, right?
Yeah, that's Juno Reactor. Yeah, he played for the first time in 2024.
Okay. So he did 2024. Oh, okay.
He was supposed to play 2023, but
that's what it was. Okay.
There were visa issues. Artists have to pay $5,000 to rush their visa.
I see.
In the past 6 times that I've hired international talent, they get their visas a day before they're supposed to travel.
Okay.
So it's clearly being done on purpose, not to be a conspiracy theorist or anything. But I'm like, guys, we ordered these visas like 8 months in advance.
Right.
What are you doing? And so, but Juno Reactor got his the day after he was supposed to travel in 2023. But everyone understood, and Kaya Project replaced him, which is hilarious because Kaya Project replaced Blue Tech the year before that because Blue Tech got sick. And so Kaya's like the one that on the same label as Juno Reactor, by the way, and Solar Fields.
Okay.
All those people are on the same label.
I see.
Feel Life is the name of that label, and they are pretty much the stars for Psybient and down tempo music. I highly recommend you check them out if anyone's listening.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely know Blue Tech's huge in the electronic music space, and I think where I'm getting my wires crossed was that I was like, I didn't catch the news that Juno Reactor wasn't going to make it, and so I just felt like I missed a set. So like the next year I came and I saw it, and it was like, holy shit, like it was a big vibe.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And that's what I just, it's so special about these events is I get to bring these acts out that are really rare, because Juno Reactor playing in the United States does not happen that often. Right. And I just love that there's this market for that. There's these people that are interested in that. And with Astronox, we'll bring the headliners that everyone knows, but in tandem to that, we get to bring out the more unknown acts, and people are okay with it because they're like, I trust Astronox. I know I'm going to have a good time regardless of who's on the lineup. Right. But as we've grown over the years, I've been able to like safely make that gamble where I spend money on, because it's not cheap to fly in from someone from Europe. I mean, you're talking about 4-star hotel minimum, the flights, ground travel, and hospitality. That's just the amenities, right? And then their booking fee, and then it took. The first time I booked Solar Fields, I had over 300 emails in my inbox just booking one single person. And we have 20 people on that lineup. And now we have 60 people on each lineup. So it takes a lot of work to bring these people out. But it's so worth it when you're there and everyone's just having the time of their lives and dancing their butts off. And it's just like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. And everyone involved feels the same exact way. They're like, it's Juno Reactor, what? And it's just mind-blowing.
Exactly. Yeah, for myself, of course, I've been a fan of the movie The Matrix. Actually, I would even credit that movie to like the very earliest inklings of like my spiritual awakening of, a lot of what my podcast is about is like seeing that movie. I couldn't quite put my finger on what it had done to me when I saw it, but I knew something had happened. So seeing Juno Reactor, it was like this kind of full circle moment. And also not even knowing them by name, but just like recognizing the music. And it was like, who is this? And they're like, Juno Reactor. I was like, oh, that's why they're at the top. Okay, let's go.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's so good.
And there's a lot of who is this moments at Astronox and really at any festival. But I really applaud people who are checking out the acts they haven't heard of, because that's how you really have the best experience, in my opinion. You know, you have to think outside of the box. You're like, okay, yeah, I know who Marshmello is, but you know, check out you know, Crawdad Sniper. It's like, what the hell does Crawdad Sniper mean? I don't know, but he plays good music, you know.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, a lot of it is just how like immersive it all is. The time just goes, and that's why I'm glad it's at least a weekend, because it almost feels like it's like 4 p.m. and then all of a sudden it's 10 p.m. and there's a new act on, and it's like,
yeah,
that's why you kind of get like, who is this? You know, it's, you know, like a very kind of like structured maybe festival goer would know every set before it happens. But you know, I just get so immersed in like everything going on that it just becomes this flow and this, again, like this experience, this like otherworldly vibe. And even not with like a medicine, for example, you know, like I do end up sometimes on one, but a lot of times it's just like the amazing curation of how everything just leads to one another. And I kept getting more and more surprised by deeper and deeper experiences. Like even for one, some guy brought us in to help build this clay pot.
That's oh my gosh, I'm gonna remember his name. It's Symbiosis.
Okay.
Symbiosis, I believe. I hope I didn't butcher that. If he's listening and I butchered his name, I am so fired. But yeah, every year he just like makes this clay pot, and he's like, here, put some on it, and everyone puts a little piece on the clay pot, and at the end he's like, all right, we're gonna break this bitch, and then they just throw it on the ground and release all of this energy and tension, and it's
right.
really cool.
It was awesome, and I literally can't even remember the last time in my life that I touched clay, and yet it's something we just take for granted, you know, with all of our like bowls and plates and eating stuff. And it was a little bit of an ask for me, because I was like, wait, you want me to get dirty right now? You know, it's like,
yeah.
He was like, bro, it'll come off. Just like, give it what you got. So my hands were full of clay, but of course he had a sponge and we got it off and it was easy. But there was just this moment of like, can I do this? It feels overwhelming, but he made it feel so easy. And like, when I came back later, maybe the next day, it was so much bigger of a pot. And I was like, whoa, like I really, I contributed to some artistic experience with so many people's energy going into it. And it was just special. And that was just one experience, because this last year there was like, it was hosted on like a Viking kind of a ground.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Valkyrie Ranch.
And there was a bunch of rare animals there, rare deers. I think the dude that, I don't know if he owns a ranch or he's just a caretaker, but he drove up in like almost a Humvee thing, and it was like, yo, like, you want to check out the deer? And we were like, of course. And he told us there was like 300 of them in the whole planet.
Yes, they are considered extinct. And I keep on getting corrected when I say that, but Frank says extinct, and he owns the entire, because it's a wildlife preserve, and he says they're considered extinct at this time because there's only like a few of them left. But yeah, there's 300 extinct and or endangered animals on that property, and they all go to like the other side of the property where they have their own safe haven away from all the sound. But all of them are like really nice deer. They're not going to mess with you. They're going to stay away from you. And it was a big test for me, because I thought, well, like, what if like somebody messes with the deer? There's always got to be that one person, you know, like, but everything was fine. And that property has had multiple festivals on it. And Frank is an incredible guy. He started DEF CON, a hacker convention. He literally he's a genius. He's a technological wizard. Wow. And, you know, I work at Apple, and I'm just like, he'll talk and I'm like, what are you talking about right now? Like he just goes over my head, and I'm just like, I'm an engineer. Like, and I don't know what you're saying right now. And but yeah, the property owners are just awesome. I love Frank and Jennifer. And it's stunning because it takes a long time. One of the logistical problems with throwing a festival is finding a property where the landowner respects what you're doing, and it's not just about money. Because I'm going to be honest. Like, I am totally fine talking to the cops when they come up to the gate and say, "Hey, you're getting some noise complaints," which I totally understand. You know, every festival is going to have that happen. It's a neighborhood. Someone's going to call and complain. And so but the cops are always nice as long as you're respectful, you know, which you should be. You know, they're just doing their job. But if the landowner gets mad, then that's where the festival just is not going to work out. And so this is the first time where I feel like the landowners get it, you know, that they want the festival to succeed. They want to collaborate with us because these things are massive collaborations. Everyone has to want the project to succeed or it's just not going to work out. And that's what I'm so grateful for it, is everyone's as passionate as I am for seeing this thing pop off, you know? And, I'm just very grateful for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too. You know, shout out the Valkyrie Ranch. And I love it because, first of all, I have been a fan of like Norse mythology for many, many years. I've grown up a gamer, particularly of fantasy games. Those always hit me the best. And I think the first dip into that may have been Guild Wars, World of Warcraft, Oblivion. Oh, actually Morrowind. Can't forget Morrowind. And
Don't get me started.
And then Skyrim. So like there's just like so much Norse influence into all that. And then, of course, when I saw Game of Thrones, which I saw so late, I think they were in season 3 or whatever, by the time I saw it, I was like, how did no one tell me that like Skyrim was like a show? You know, like, because I was more of a Skyrim fan, but
I already said I'm a nerd. I literally have Magic the Gathering cards right next to me right now. Like at the moment you start talking about Skyrim, we're going to go on a whole different topic. I'm modding Skyrim right now. I have 4,000 mods for no reason in the game, you know, and
I love it.
But yeah, the whole Viking, the whole property, Valkyrie Ranch, they throw the Viking Festival.
Yeah.
Which they do it 3 weekends in December every year. I just went. It was awesome. My girlfriend and I had an amazing time.
Wonderful. But yeah, I truly did feel, you know, because I had been to the previous ones as well, and they were all amazing and definitely their own planet. But here, I was getting this extra special like Viking charge, Norse charge. You know, there was multiple kind of like statues and altars that were of the Norse mythology, Norse religion, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's a religion or not, but you know, the ancient Norse way. And there was even like, did you happen to see this one kind of altar that oversaw like a pond in the backyard?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. There are a few of those on the property, and they have signs saying, "Hey, please respect this." There's offerings put there,
right?
And I don't understand
me either
that mythology,
but it was like so you're in Skyrim though.
I'm not going to speak on it. Yeah, I can tell you all about. I can tell you about Skyrim lore all we want. Like we can talk about Aedra and Daedra. You know, let's go.
100%. Oh, I love it. I love it. But it just did feel, because of course I have the respect for it as well. Like you're saying, it's like I don't understand, but it was that moment of you're in Skyrim, you run up on this beautiful vista, and there's this stuff here, these magical items you can like peruse, and if you don't know what they are, you might not pick them up. And I didn't, but I was like, this is taking me there. It's taking me to these fantasy realms of video games, but in reality, and to me, that's ultra special, especially when I'm already super charged up because of the lineup and the artists and the gaming and the community and everything else. So that's why I'm just like so stoked on Astronox and what's to come. But there's still so much to discuss in our kind of 20, 30 minutes remaining here. But I guess part of so we don't get like too lost into the video game realm, because I know we could, you know, but it was this question comes up of the curation. It feels psychedelically influenced, and so many people come to this type of music, this type of aesthetic in so many ways. I myself, certainly through psychedelic mushrooms, was my introduction to it all. But I guess I just wonder, you know, speak to your comfortability level, but it's just like, have you had those experiences? Like, what is your kind of overview of like the psychedelic scene and like the medicine community, quote unquote?
Sure, man. And so the way that I see it is, you don't have to be on psychedelics to have a good time anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Can you? Sure. They're tools, and we should all use whatever tools we want to live the life that we live. I'm sober, other than drinking alcohol, but I haven't been drunk in a very long time. And it's funny because like I've never done acid, I've never done ketamine, never done ecstasy or all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And people, when I tell them that, they're like, "How are you doing this? How are you hosting this psychedelic experience? But you've never had a psychedelic experience?" And I'm like, brother, life is just insane. All right.
Yeah.
Like I grew up, life is already psychedelic. I grew up with Asperger's. At least that's what my doctor told me. And then years later, they were like, "Well, you don't have it anymore. You got rid of the autism." And I was like, "What do you mean? What does that mean?" And it was probably just a misdiagnosis. But for me, I feel like I already have very intense experiences with music and art and food and hiking, and just life experiences are kind of amplified for me in many ways. And I treat that as a gift. It's probably a part of having ADHD. Having ADHD is a superpower because you can get a lot of energy, that puts, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. And that hyperactivity really is a blessing because I can like stay up till 4 a.m. working on Astronox and go to bed, sleep 6 hours, and be like, "That was a nice nap. Let's keep going." And but the curation of the festival for me comes from what I personally would want to see at a show.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give everybody a space for enjoying the festival experience, because a festival has to have more than just a good sound system and a good lineup. It needs a place to break away from all of that. It needs a place where you can actually hear your friends and talk to them. That's somewhere other than just the campgrounds, and that idea is essentially creating a path of adventures. Choose your own adventure that you could go on.
Yeah.
Sure, the main event is over here with the incredible stage with live projection mappings on one of the best sound systems you've ever heard in your life, but it's 4 days of music. You're gonna get tired over there and a little overwhelmed, because I do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have social anxiety. Like I can't be there for more than a couple of hours, and I'm like, okay, I got to go over here now, and I booked the stuff. I love this. I love the music and everything that's over there. And
Right.
so that's why we set it intentionally to where we put lights in a certain way so you can walk through the lights and enjoy the lights. We have Magic the Gathering over here with Super Smash Brother tournaments. We have the food vendors far away enough from the stage to where you can sit and enjoy a grilled cheese sandwich without being blasted by the loudest bass you've ever heard in your life. We have the art front side quest where you can go on side quests and get prizes. We have the frick frack blackjack where you can bet a few magic cards for this really cool figurine of Mewtwo from Pokemon. Like it's like legal gambling where you bet precious items for precious items. It's really cool, and we just have all of these different things that people are able to enjoy without getting overwhelmed.
Right.
And that's a big part of the curation for me, is comfort, and it also has to be extravagant in a way where, like, well, not extravagant, but unique. The art needs to pop. I want there to be a lot of art. I want there to be people creating art on the spot, because that just adds so much to the vibe. When you have a line of painters painting right next to the stage, and everywhere you turn, you see something like the fire dancers over here, someone with a hula hoop right here, someone painting over here, a art installation over here. Like everywhere you go, there's something to indulge in and enjoy. And you kind of figure out that formula after doing it so many times. You understand what works, you understand what doesn't work, but you want to create a little something for everyone, while at the same time having good taste in anything that you bring out. So of course, like I'm not going to have good taste in everything. There's a lot that I don't know. That's where the team comes into play. We have about 13 people on the board, so to speak. Even though I'm the sole owner, we have like 13 people who are invested in different sides of the festival, like artist hospitality, art direction with Chance Roberts. He controls the whole art gallery. That's his baby. Mm-hmm. We have all these people that are helping with that curation to ensure that it doesn't get dull, it doesn't get repetitive, and we've just received over the years different forms of feedback where I'm like, okay, that art installation was cool, but let's take that away and let's bring in something else. It just takes time to figure out what works and what doesn't. And thanks to Flux back in Arkansas, I really figured out what works and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. Plus, I've been incredibly inspired by Sonic Bloom Festival. I managed the art gallery there with my incredible friend Annie Phillips. She hired me to volunteer coordinate for about 6 years. That's how I got introduced to Tipper, actually.
Nice.
Had no idea who he was 6 years ago. Yeah. Sonic Bloom, they have the painters, they have the art installations, and they love art. I do not like going to a festival that doesn't have art. It's just not the same thing. Yeah. I get bored at the stage, and I just have to go back to my car and hang out with my friend and drink an Arizona iced tea because there's nothing else to do other than go to the stage. Sure. We want more than that in a festival experience. We want more than just music experiences.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Very well said. And I do think that that's what is so cool about it and why I say it's so immersive about, your festival, because it is that there is like a full hour that I've got in me to dance my heart out. But then it's just like, I've danced my heart out, so I need to rejuvenate, So it is nice to go and find these like conversations and find these new artists that are in the vein of artists I already love, or go over to the hut where there was like the gaming, but also a side DJ, but also, a bar and like all kind of stuff that, just keeps you like immersed. And then especially the side quest thing, because I didn't even know what I was wandering into. And it was like, right. What is this one? And we went in and it was like a fully themed RPG game, actors and all. And it was, and I didn't even know there were actors. I was just like, am I just really tripping right now? Like,
and that's the thing is like all those experiences, because they're so surreal. Yeah, they're going to mess with people a little bit, because I'm a huge troll. I always have been, and I know that when we have something like when we have like clowns wandering around talking to people, which we do, it's going to be like so great and funny for unless you're scared of clowns. I'm sorry, you can blame me for that. Sure. But yeah, like the art front side quest, it's like people who are acting like they're in medieval times, being like, "Oh, commoner, would you like to approach us?" And it's like, what? And you just go up there, rolling or whatever, and then they're like, "Would you like to win a MacBook Pro?"
Right. There was also these aliens. Are those the clowns you mean, or no?
There were clowns and aliens. We have performance artists. We got really big into performance artists in 2024, and we're even getting bigger this year with that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just we hire people to dress up and interact with the crowd, because that's another special part of
it. Is so good
of the experience.
It is so good. Yeah, you just like, it hasn't happened to me yet, and I'm kind of nervous for it too. But I was seeing so many people getting like aliened. Like they would just come up and be like, hey, they had these big like gray alien masks on, dancing with them. So it was all like, they weren't scaring them, but I could feel like I'm kind of like, I don't know if I could handle it. Like I might fully fall into their alien hypnotizations.
Well, you already did. I mean, do you think that stage actually exists? I can't afford that,
dude. Yeah. See, that's funny because I've seen the stage in its full form, and man, it is freaking something else. I love it.
It is, man. That it is a technological marvel.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how a laser works?
No.
Me either. My laser technician, Sterling Bond, he's the technical director of everything. He was explaining to me for an hour when we had a production call, and he was like, "Hey, Nick, not to get on a tangent, but we need more lasers next year. Can I tell you how a laser works real quick?" And he was like, "Okay, so first of all, people are now saying that photons may not exist." And I was like, huh? Just look it up. Like, it's this theory that photons aren't a thing. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I love it. No, I just had a podcast about a similar topic. It'll be out a few before this episode. So it's kind of timely, honestly. But my question was around, with your kind of limited psychedelic experience, or what you said, essentially, like, how did you get into Psytrance? How did you get into these more eccentric artists? Because for myself, it always felt too weird before I understood maybe the depth that it contained. Like, I had certainly been shown things like Spangle before I had ever experienced a psychedelic. And it was just like, I didn't understand. It was just like, it's cool, but like, I don't know what's going on. But, it seemed like you had this appreciation so early on. Part of me just wonders, like, what was it in the music, the psytrance, the dubstep, that was speaking to you? Because for me, it was just beyond my comprehension at first,
Sure, and it's still kind of like is beyond my comprehension. But that's the idea, right? Though, that just like with the whole lasers, it's like, I'm not going to understand it, and there's a lot that we're not going to understand. Probably 99% of what we experience, we're not going to understand. But that's why it's important just to let go, and that's been my philosophy for many years, where I'm just like, don't overthink it, just enjoy it. And I grew up on the internet. I had three parents. I had my mom, my dad, and Internet Explorer. And through the internet, I discovered electronic music. Tiesto was the first artist I ever listened to for electronic music when I was like 9 years old, and I was like, "This is the best shit ever. I've never experienced anything like this before. Oh my god!" And I was showing my dad, and he was just like, "I don't care, but I'm glad you're happy," And that led me into this wide array of music, including Psytrance. And I went to Ectoplasm, this free Psytrance website that it still exists. It's just been under new development for 5 years, so they've been on a very long hiatus. But they had over 1,000 free albums on there, legally free albums, where an artist releases their Psytrance album, and then after selling it for a couple of years, they put in an Ectoplasm for free. A lot of the times is how it worked. And I just went through there and I wrote reviews for Psytrance albums because I really appreciated the technicality of the music. I can program synthesizers, and I used to make ambient music. Nice. I'm not a really great musician or anything. I just love twisting knobs and having fun. But I still, from that experience, was able to appreciate the complexity of different songs that a musician may make. And there's a lot going on in certain Psytrance albums. And so I really, I just, before I threw festivals, my hobby was writing reviews. I wrote about 3,000 reviews across a wide variety of genres from like 2013 to 2017 or so. And then I stopped for the most part. But I love the experiences that pretty much any electronic music genre offers. I'm like obsessed with it. I don't know why. It's just something that I really love. It makes me feel like you get a different feeling for every genre. Like, if I want some melancholy, I'll listen to some dark ambient soundscapes. If I want some dreamlike electronic music, I'll listen to Brian Eno or Steve Roach. If I want like to dance my butt off, like, I'll start listening to that bass music. And at Astronox, we like to have that variety where we have the dance floor centric music, But then the more obscure stuff that's not really good for dancing, just good for listening and enjoying. And we can play that late at night at 2 a.m. when people are just kind of relaxing and getting ready to turn in for the night, or some people getting ready to party, whatever. But that's why we have music so late. But there's not that many spaces in America for electronic music to shine. It's rare over here. Europe got it first. It started there. It is incredibly popular there.
Right.
And in America, at the South specifically, it's really starting to grow right now. Even post COVID, like we're still growing. We really are. There's a lot of bigger festivals that have been shutting down, but that's because they have $1 million, $10 million budgets. And if they lose 10% of their money, that means they lose millions of dollars.
Yeah.
We're a smaller fest. We're underground. We're expressing the electronic genres that they probably aren't. So we're kind of safe from that issue of festivals kind of shutting down right now. And I think that 2025 is going to be a really good year for music festivals.
1,000%. Yeah, and that really does speak to even my philosophy on content or anything, which is quality over quantity. And it's
totally,
it's not about the amount of people on the bill. It's not about the amount of people in the audience. It's about the quality of the experience. And that's what I do. Again, feel this like soul fam resonation with what you're producing. And as well, like the music is curated in such a way that it feels super kind of like connoisseur versus just like this these names, but like the music's a little meh. It's like I can enjoy a Dead track, I can enjoy some of these big names, Skrillex, whatever, but it's like after so long of it, it's just I don't know. I'm more of a connoisseur of things. I've always been. From smoking weed, it was like I'm a strain connoisseur, from trying some wine out. It's like I'm instantly a wine connoisseur. Is like whatever it was, I was like looking for depth, So
totally.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is that's shining about the community. And as well, I don't know if this plans to go further in the future, but I think from what I read on one of the past promotional materials, there was like 1,000-person cap. And I guess is that like kind of an intentionality of like community? Because for myself, I've been to bigger festivals and you almost never see the same person twice. You never bump into them again. And so like what I love about Astronox is you start to know these people and like tens and hundreds of them. And it's like, yo, we're back again. It's like, what's up, So I guess one of the last questions here is just kind of about like, what's coming next year, and also just kind of the intention of like the community and the size.
Totally. And so we like for it to be intimate because we are a community hosting a festival. So community is incredibly important to us because we are a community. We're not like these big corporate giants trying to profit off of people's love for music. In fact, most of the time we are losing money in order for all of us to enjoy the music. I want to see that act just like you do. It really is a labor of love. And so that 1,000-person cap allows us to keep that intimacy and keep the very special atmosphere. Like you feel like you're a part of the show. You feel like you can talk to me. You can talk to anyone that's throwing it, and we'll be like, "Hey, glad you're having a good time." Or I'll be stressed and I'll be like, "Can't talk right now. A truck's on fire, but have a good time." And if you ever talk to me at a festival, I am sorry if I have been too busy to talk to you. One big thing coming in 2025 is that I think we finally have all of the roles filled to where I can focus on what I love to do, and that's talk to people. I've always loved to do that. And so I'm very excited for 2025. I get to attend my own festival for the first time. Let's go. Let's party.
Let's go.
Hand me the margaritas, whatever. But I think that the most we've ever sold, this may be very surprising, is 605 tickets. And that's the thing is like every year people are like, well, this has got to sell out. And like it really could. in 2025, this is the first year that I've ever thought that it's going to sell out, because the lineup that we have this year, 6 years, we've got everything we need now. I'm really excited to show y'all. We're probably going to drop the lineup in February. We also have 1, maybe 2 Astronox session shows coming, and the lineup for those are just, I'm very excited. It's going to be much bigger than it ever has been before.
Nice. Let's go. Can't wait, man. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for Astronox and everything you're doing, man. It's always inspiring. It's always bringing forth love and community and art, music, all the things I love. So just thank you once again, brother. Appreciate you.
Of course, man. Yeah, we love to do it. You know, I wanted a festival like this, so I was like, well, let's just make it ourselves. You know, and here we are. So just thank you so much for your support, and thank you to anyone who's listening in, who's come to Astronox, because like it's a dream. I'm living a dream. I'm living the life that I want to live, thanks to y'all, and I think that y'all are living the lives that you want to live at Astronox too. You know, so it's a great trade-off. Like, well, let's keep it going. I think that Astronox has a big future ahead.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that is Nick Sumbles from Astronox. Check it out. I'll put the links down below. Thank you once again for being here today, Nick. Thank you to all the listeners, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
See you later, guys.
Peace.